lowest, greatest, highest, I will come to thee.
Once there was a contractor who was overseeing a church building that was being built. He hired out most of the workers through subcontractors. One day he went to the construction site to take a look around. None of the workers knew who he was, so he began to ask them what they were doing. Well, the first man he asked said, "I'm cutting 2x4s to build this wall." The second man said, "I'm just doing what I'm told and making $10 an hour to do it." However, the third man had a completely different perspective than the other two because he said, "I'm helping these new Christians to build a church building for the glory of God." Can you tell the difference between these workers? The first guy was just doing his job. The second guy was also just doing his job, but his motivation was getting paid $10 per hour. But the third guy was excited about doing the work because he knew that the building would serve as a central location for these new Christians who were eager to do the work of the Lord. So unlike the other two workers who were just doing their jobs and doing it for the money, this man was happy to do his part in helping the cause of Christ. What motivates you when you work? Do you just do your job so you can earn a paycheck, or do you see it as an opportunity to glorify God? Paul writes in Ephesians 6 in verse number 5, "Bondservants, be obedient to those who are your masters according to the flesh, with fear and trembling, and sincerity of heart as to Christ, not with eye service as men pleasers, but as bondservants of Christ, doing the will of God from the heart, with good will, doing service as to the Lord and not to men, knowing that whatever good anyone does, he will receive the same from the Lord, whether he is a slave or free. And you masters, do the same things to them, giving up threatening, knowing that your own master also is in heaven, and there is no partiality with him." Also, Paul writes in 1 Corinthians 10 and verse 31, "Therefore, whatever you eat or drink, or whatever you do, do all to the glory of God." While receiving money and benefits from a job is great, because it supports your family and it allows you to have money to help others and the work of the church, our real motivation should be serving God so we can glorify Him in our work. Our goal is not to be men pleasers, but to labor as if we're laboring for the Lord. Boy, when you really think about yourself laboring for the Lord instead of laboring for that man, it really should change your attitude about what you're doing as you're working. It should cause you to have a strong work ethic. Jesus said in Matthew 5 and verse 16, "Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven." Every employer should be able to tell a difference between his Christian employees and his non-Christian employees, because while we may not like the job we have all that much, a Christian should give his best to his employer. He should always be truthful and not be like many in the world who call in sick when he is not. A Christian worker will never try to rip their employer off and will be the best example they can, because every Christian is to be an example to others so that people can see Christ shining through them. I know it's tempting to be lazy and to do the least you can, but that is not the way of Christianity, which is why an employer should love to have a Christian working for them. Not only are Christians great workers, they are trustworthy, and an employer can be confident that they will do their jobs and do it to the best of their ability and know that they are able to handle even more responsibilities. Like the third worker in our story, we should have a positive attitude about whatever work we're doing, because we are doing it for the Lord and we are being a good example to those that are around us, which will glorify our Father in heaven. If we ever start feeling discouraged or feel like we're being taken advantage of by others who are willing to step back and allow us to do the bulk of the work, just remember that the work that you do honors God and it will not be done in vain. As Paul said in 1 Corinthians 15 and verse 58, "Therefore, my beloved brethren, be steadfast, immovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord, knowing that your labor is not in vain in the Lord." So let us never forget to live our lives for God on the job and off the job.